of the roof into the square below. I think, she lands on the button to light the tree.
Mm-hmm.
And when she lands on the button to light the tree, all the bats come out of the tree when it lights up, so it looks like Batman killed the Ice Princess. So Cobblepot takes off, and he and Catwoman, Batman and Catwoman, still fight. And there's more when she's talking to him and talking about, hey, they what does she say? She pins him and then says that he looks yummy or something.
Mm-hmm.
And he sees the mistletoe above her, and there's the line where he says, mistletoe can be deadly if you eat it. And she says a kiss can be even deadlier if you mean it. And then she licks his face.
I feel like that's a pretty iconic moment.
Yeah, that's something I remember. That might even be in the trailer too. But yeah, that's definitely something I remember. So Batman pushes her off again, and he goes to escape. And as he's escaping, Cobblepot comes and is talking to Catwoman, and she says, "Oh, you're just going to scare her. I didn't mean, you shouldn't have killed her." And he's trying to get with her, and she's just not having it. So he gets really upset and angry, and sticks the helicopter umbrella around her neck.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's basically hanging from the umbrella, which takes off, and she manages to free herself, land in the greenhouse. And then when she comes to in the greenhouse, when she comes up, you can see that her suit's really fucked up again. Her hair's like spilling out of it now, and the mask is kind of half torn. So she references that again later on, which says, "Oh, Batman killed me, the Penguin killed me." So that's the Penguin. That's the time that the Penguin kills her, is when she falls into the greenhouse. Batman comes back to the Batmobile, gets in, and then it got taken over by Cobblepot, which is really funny because he's got the Batman, like the little Batmobile ride.
Yeah.
That he's driving in the RV, and the RV is shaking back and forth. So while he's talking to him over the speaker or the little monitor in the Batmobile, Batman records him as he's talking shit about like the citizens of Gotham, basically revealing that I played all those fools. So Batman records that, finds the device, manages to disable it, and then there's a cool scene where he has to go through the narrow alley. So the Batmobile it blows off the sides and then kind of turns into almost like a missile and goes through the alley. And I think the next day is when Cobblepot goes to the press conference. And he's given the speech, and then as he's given the speech, Alfred and Bruce hijack the frequency,
mm-hmm.
and they play his remarks over the loudspeaker. So the crowd turns on him immediately, which is funny because as soon as the crowd turns, he looks over at Shrek, and Shrek is leaving, and he kind of gives the shrug.
Yeah,
as he ditches him.
He's like, I didn't say that. and did you notice how like when they're playing the audio, Bruce like he does this little kind of like scratching.
Yeah.
The wicka. Which is it's hilarious.
But I like how Cobblepot he's about to say something. And, the loudspeaker takes over, but, like, his lips are still kind of moving like he's still talking, and then he realizes that the loudspeaker is basically doing the talking.
Yeah.
It does it 2 or 3 times, or he goes to say something, and each time, like his voiceover from the hijack frequency comes on, and he's kind of sitting there, kind of dumbfounded as to what's going on. But the crowd turns on him. They start throwing shit, and then he's like, "Why is there someone that always brings eggs and tomatoes to a speech?" Like while he's getting pelted. So he takes off, jumps back into the sewer, or runs through the park. The cops give him chase through the park, and then he jumps back into the creek, which I'm guessing is the same creek from the same bridge that he got thrown off as a child by his parents.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Do you know if he really did that?
If he really fell?
Like if he really dove into the little creek? Like
I don't know if that was DeVito or if it was a stunt double, but yeah, someone.
I'm just saying, it looked really good.
He kind of does it. He doesn't really jump either. He kind of just does like the awkward tumble over the side of the bridge.
Yeah. Like just lets himself go.
Yeah. He basically just tips forward.
We also, I think you skipped one of the more disturbing scenes where Max Schreck is kind of talking Penguin into running for mayor, and he like,
oh yeah,
and he baits him with a fish.
Oh, the fish is so gross when he's eating it.
Yeah. And then so he brings him down these stairs, and then all of a sudden, like the scenery just changes, and it's super bright, and he has this whole political team ready to back him, and they don't even care that he's like just eating this raw fish like a savage.
There's a shot of him where like half of the chewed up fish is hanging out of his mouth, and he stops and he looks and sees everything, and then he kind of sucks the rest of it in. It's so gross.
Yeah. But one of the more darker scenes, at least for me, I thought, was when one of the campaign guys takes a kind of a jab at him, where he's like, he like kind of goes down to DeVito's level, and he's like, "Oh, I guess there's not a lot of mirrors,
yes,
in your lair or in the sewers, huh?" And then DeVito just starts like they all start cackling with each other, and it lasts like a kind of like an awkward amount of time where something bad's gonna happen, and then DeVito kind of turns to the guy and he says, "Oh, at least things could be worse. My nose could be gushing blood." And then everybody just kind of goes with it and still laughs, and then the guy's like, "Wait a minute, your nose could be gushing blood," and then DeVito just kind of turns around and takes like a bite out of his nose.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal because the blood just squirts out of the nose.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the scene plays out as Max is talking to Cobblepot, and the whole front of his onesie is covered in blood.
They just keep going along with everything as if everything's normal, and then Penguin does this. He's like, what is one of the ladies that's gonna help him with the campaign? He's like, "Oh, I'd like to get inside her," or he says something under his breath.
Oh, show her my French flipper trick is what he says. Or yeah, Max says something to him. I forget what the line is.
Oh, I know what he says. He says, "I'd like to fill her void."
Yeah, because he's talking about Penguin could fill the void of whatever's missing in Gotham, and he's looking at the image consultant, who's Jan Hook. She was on SNL for a long time. She passed away a few years ago, unfortunately. But that's her. Yeah, he says he would like to fill her void, and then Shrek is talking to him, and he's not really paying attention to what Shrek is saying. He's just staring at her, and that's when he says, "Oh yeah, I'll show her the French flipper trick." And then he does it again later on, where the female staffers are talking to him, He's like, oh yeah, you're the best young person a role model could have. And then he gives her the button, but the way he puts the button on her shirt is like real sleazy.
Yeah.
Where he's like kind of feeling her up as he's doing it.
After that scene plays out, when he's going up the stairs, he's like saying all this stuff. He's like,
he's talking about groping.
Yeah, he's like groping.
Yeah, he's a real creep.
Yeah, he gets away with a lot of shit in this movie.
Yes, my mistake. We skipped the scene in the campaign office, but yeah, he's got a lot of really funny dialogue there, and he's just real sleazy. But you're right, he kind of gets away with it. No one really says anything to him. Oh. So, where were we?
All right.
Oh, okay. So he goes back into the sewer. The cops give chase. He goes back to the sewer, and meets up with the gang again. And that's when he has the plan. And his plan is, you realize that when he was at the Hall of Records, he wasn't looking for his name. He was writing down the names of all of Gotham's firstborn, because his plan is to kidnap and murder all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So when he comes back, I mean, that's when he comes back into the sewer. They say, "Hey, Cobblepot," and he says, "Oh, my name's not Cobblepot, it's Penguin." He reverts back to the Penguin persona.
Yeah, he's like, "I'm an animal."
Yeah, he says, "I'm not a human being. I'm an animal," which is a reference to the Elephant Man. Because in the Elephant Man, John Merrick says, "I'm not an animal. I'm a human being," and that's what the Penguin says is a reverse of that line. So that's his grand plan is to, while Shrek has this Christmas party or this masquerade ball, the Penguin and the Red Triangle gang are going to go around and steal all the kids, or all the firstborn kids. So we get to the Christmas party. Bruce is there. He's looking for Selena. He finds her, and then they get out on the dance floor, and she asks, why did you come? Excuse me. And he says, "Oh, to see you." And he says, "Why did you come?" And she says, "I'd like to say the same, but I'm actually here for Max."
And then Bruce gets like kind of jealous, and he's like, "Wait, like you and Max, like you and Max?" And she's like, starts laughing hysterically, like, no.
Michelle Pfeiffer has such a great laugh when he says, "Oh, you and Max," and she cracks up. Her laugh is great. By the way, did you hear like the really like jazzy cover of Super Freak at the beginning?
Yeah.
At the very when we first cut into that scene, they're playing this really jazzy cover of Super Freak. And then as he finds Selena, the music changes to the Sushi and the Banshees tune, Face to Face, which I didn't know. After hearing that song forever, I didn't know that was written specifically for the movie.
Oh, really? It was?
Yeah, that's what I read in doing the research. I had no idea that was written specifically for Batman Returns. I think Elfman helped compose it too. But they're out on the dance floor. She says she's there for Max. She's tired of Max and his bullshit. She wants her revenge on him. And she says, "Don't try to talk me out of it," but he's like, "Why don't we go outside? Why don't we stop this?" And he goes to kiss her, and she looks up and sees the mistletoe. And then she repeats the line that mistletoe can be deadly if you eat it, and he repeats to her that a kiss is even deadlier if you mean it. And then they both look at each other because they know who they are now.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, "Oh, does this mean we have to start